I wanted to invite you to do a craft project with me today, and I am working on a latch-hook project currently, so it's really soft. I thought that we could work on it together since it's been too long since we've just sat and done like crafts together, so I thought that would be nice. And I'll show you first what I'm working on, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the history of latch hooking, the craft, the practice, and then I'll tell you a little bit about how to do it. So if you don't know, I hope that will be instructive to you. And then maybe we can just sit and enjoy working on it together, if you would be so kind, just to keep me company. So first I'll show you the project I'm working on, and let me see, just clear off my space here a little bit actually. So I'm going to show you what it looks like so far. So there it is, and this is actually a present for my mom. Shh, don't tell. Although Mom, if you're watching, spoiler alerts. And I've been working on it for a while. Each one of these is a little piece of yarn, so there's obviously a lot. And it is a pillowcase, so the back is just a really soft fabric backing, and it's not suede, but it has a very kind of suede slickness to it, or softness to it. So, and then you can see there's a pocket underneath, and that is where the pillow will go, so it's just a zip, and you can just zip and unzip along there, right along the seam, open it, pop the pillow in, and voila. So that's nice, I hope. And I thought the design would make her happy. She loves the color purple, and so lots of purple. But she loves animals, and I love these cats here. They actually make me think of, you know, in Minecraft, where if you give one animal something they like to eat, in the case of cats like this, cats like raw salmon in Minecraft. So yeah, if you give cats raw salmon and you give another cat raw salmon and they see each other, they'll look at each other with love in their eyes, and a heart will appear, and then they'll make babies. So that's what it makes me think of. And so anyway, I hope she'll love it. I hope she'll like it. It's just it's a little extra. It's not her Christmas present. It's a present mostly because she's retiring really soon, and I'm really proud of her. So I think presents where, you know, you work on them and you spend time with them, I like to think that you imbue them with, you know, your own love and your own thoughts and good wishes or mana or whatever. So hopefully she'll feel that. And as you can see, I am almost done. Just this cat still has a little a little baldness on its body down here, but we can fix that. So that's what we'll be working on. You can see the mesh underneath and how you can just kind of see through here, so you can see that. And in a minute, what I'll do is I'll go close up with the camera so you can really see the mesh and the process of how to latch hook, in case you're wondering and wanting to learn or just curious. So we'll look at that in one moment. The art of latch hook, or the craft of latch hook, actually dates back a long way. As you can imagine, the art of weaving, of course, and making rugs and tapestries and things like that go back so far to so many different cultures. A lot of people attribute it to Viking culture. However, you can really see variations of it throughout many civilizations. So it's hard to attribute it to just one place or one people. And this is true also for latch hook to a degree. There was a real popularization of it. Anytime we see people struggling with scarcity of resources, and so, for example, millers in England in, I want to say, the 1700s, primarily, but I am not, that's just off the top of my head, and I don't quite remember for sure, but that was a time when they would start to take leftover yarn and barley sacks, pieces of barley they would use for sacks at the mills, and then what they would do is they would take the extra pieces. Ooh, I actually found a spot that's missing some there, so remind me. But they would take the extra pieces of barley sacks or of yarn, and weavers would, whatever they had laying around, and repurpose the little strips or little extra pieces by doing a process much like modern day latch hook. And so it was a way to make sure to use every last bit of the fabric or the resources that you had on hand. So very clever, very resourceful, and it continued to be popular until the early 1900s. Again, I think it was 1904, but that's just what's like rattling around in my brain, so who knows. I think it was 1904 or thereabouts when a man actually invented the tool I have here, the actual latch hook tool that we use today. So it's often called a rug hook. You can kind of look at it here, and the rug hook was invented specifically for this purpose and made it a lot easier, quicker, and a lot easier on joints and on hands. And so you can kind of see it just has a nice, typically wooden handle. I think traditionally that's what it had too. And then on top of that, you just have a little hook, and it bends down and then hooks right there on the top. In the end, there's just a little U shape. Okay, and then there's a little arm that can go like up and down, yeah, like that. And that arm is really instrumental in helping to make sure that the each individual piece of yarn gets pulled through properly. So you're gonna see that in a moment. In fact, why don't we take a look? So I am gonna go just for a minute and go kind of close up so you can get a chance to see how this really works. So let's take a look at that. So as you can see from this footage, I usually have some difficulties or challenges when I latch hook with my cat, Etienne, being on top of my lap all the time. But I wanted to give you quick instructions in case you're new to latch hooking. So before we look close up, you can kind of see and observe me doing these steps. You start by folding the yarn. You take a strand of yarn and fold it in half to create a loop. You want to then position your hook. Use at the neck of the latch hook tool inside that loop. Then you insert the hook. You're going to push the rug hook, the tool, through your canvas hole, and you want to ensure that the latch hook, the little arm, stays open when you do that. So make sure that's open. You secure the yarn by placing the yarn ends diagonally across that open latch and across over underneath the hook. Then you're going to slowly pull the hook back through the loop. This will close the latch, and that's going to secure the yarn onto your project. And then you've done it, and you just keep doing that over and over. It's a nice craft because it's really meditative and calming and simple. It's really simple. So this is my current latch hook project, and it is a pillowcase, fluffy pillowcase, and I am going to show you kind of the steps to latch hook if you haven't done it before. So you want to first take one piece of the string. You can get these pre-cut yarns. So then you're going to take a latch hook tool. Looks like this. It's got a little hook on it. And your pre-cut piece of yarn. And you want to just fold that right in half. So you get a little loop. You can see the loop there? Okay, there's the loop. And you take your latch hook tool and you're going to put it all the way through till it gets kind of to that bend. Underneath the little hooky piece there's an extra little bit. Okay? And you're going to put it underneath the mesh, the hook, and gonna go again right below where the little arm is, that little, I'm calling it a little hooky arm, and it's gonna go under the mesh and you're gonna pull through. Then you can hold on to the sides and tighten it a little bit. I like to tighten it outwards and forwards. But let's take a look again. So take your piece of pre-cut yarn and fold that right in half to get that loop. See the loop right there? Okay. And take your tool, latch it around just underneath that arm there. Okay, you can see it, and then you're going to go under the mesh like that. So you're going to loop again under the mesh and pull the yarn so it's underneath, then like that. You're going to pull it all the way up and pull it through, and again you can tighten, just making sure that it's gonna stay right on there. And so let's take that again just to get the hang of it. So we can pull a piece out, make sure it looks nice, loop it like that. There's the loop. Take the hook, go ahead and pull it all the way down the hook underneath that arm again. Find the spot that you're gonna put it in all the way under the mesh and keeping it looped over. Cross the piece of yarn over under the hook and pull, and then tighten. So the big part is making sure that once you pull it through, you're looping across, and then you just continue to fill in all of the colors, all the spaces there. Okay. Okay, so hopefully now you have some idea of what the process looks like for latch hooking, and plenty of you probably have tried this before. It's honestly quite simple. Once you do it a couple of times, you mostly get the hang of it. And once you get the hang of it, it's usually relatively predictable and simple and meditative to just keep going. You'll get things once in a while like snags or pulls, but you'll see as I do it hopefully how I navigate that. One of, I think, the great things about latch hook, and one of the reasons I think it's maybe popular today, is because you can do it and it's very forgiving. I know a lot of people today will craft while they watch a show or while they listen to an audiobook or talk to other people, and so it's nice with a latch hook if you do say get a snag or tie on the wrong color or something like that. It's really easy to untie and yeah, simple. So what you need when you latch hook is obviously your rug hook, and as you saw from the close-up, you'll have your project, which is going to start off as just mesh, like a mesh netting almost, and then you will have your pieces of pre-cut yarn. Now, like I said, you may be doing something different. You may be using different fabric than yarn. This is just kind of the most common, especially if you buy any kind of a kit or go to a craft store. You can also cut your own, but you can get them in sort of pre-cut rolls, and you know, it's very convenient to go this way, especially if you're new to latch hooking, mostly for the uniformity of them. But you can get this other ways. You can use a cutter to make them like this. You can also get specific scissors for latch hooking. I do recommend them. I don't think I'll get around to trimming today, but you'll notice even if you get supposedly pre-cut, perfectly measured yarn bits. They won't all be perfect, and sometimes they get tied on uneven or get stretched or pulled. And so when you have scissors, when you finish your project, you can kind of go over it with your scissors just to make sure things are really even when you finish, and that'll make it look professional and crisp. So that's something I do recommend. And you can use a lot of different kinds of scissors for that too, as long as they're sharp and consistent and easy for you to use. So, okay, I might have this camera angle down a little bit, but I've just, for today, I'll only be doing black. So I just have a couple black sections to do, and so I've just got the black yarn, so that's what I'll be using. And I have a little bowl that I kind of keep everything in, and so let me maybe angle you down just the teensiest bit here so you can kind of see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Okay, so the first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to find that spot that I noticed that's still a little bald right there. We're going to fill that in. So let's take one of these, and then just like I was showing you before, you can pull one at a time. I'll typically pull a few just to kind of have them. I'll just set them. Okay. Oh. Put them back up. Okay. And then you just take it and then fold it. And goodness, that spot keeps disappearing. That's why it can be really good. You know, some people just do a very uniform process as they fill these all in. I tend to go by color, so I do try to be pretty even about like if I'm going up or down or back and forth, but you can still miss sections or spots. So I'm just gonna go and hook and pull. A lot of you, if you grew up in the, I think especially in the 70s, I understand latch-hook was very popular. I think that's because you had shag, which was very popular at the time. I, even being born in the 80s, I grew up when I was very young in a house that had a sort of burnt orange shag wall-to-wall carpet. I should actually say up the wall carpet. There were these, I don't know, like panels of the shag that went up the wall. Would have been really good now for acoustics, actually, but I did not have a lot of love for it as a child. It felt very retro, not in a fun way yet. Now I think it could be very, interesting, but I'm also just not very much of an orange person. Not that there's anything wrong with orange, it doesn't really calm me. So it did have sort of a heyday in the 70s, the latch-hook, and you can latch-hook so many different kinds of projects. So a lot of it then I think was wall art, tapestries, things like that had lots of touchable texture. Touchable texture was very popular, and of course carpets, throw rugs, throw pillows, as I'm creating now, all very popular at that time. The project I'm doing next now, actually, with latch-hook, is a tote bag. So I think that there's sort of like a fun sense of whimsy now to it, you know. So it's one of those things too where I think a lot of my generation became more minimalistic or more minimally inclined, because I think a lot of our parents grew up more with, like, or maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but we had lots of tchotchkes and there was a lot of like character in my house. I see it as character now. I think sometimes growing up I saw it as clutter. But you know, as somebody who lives in a pretty I don't want to say minimalistic. Well, the architecture of my house is very minimalistic. It's like desert modern, and so I try to bring in color and whimsy through art pieces and furniture and things like that. But I do think, like a lot of my generation, my house is maybe there's like a lot of white, you know. Being married to a designer, though, also like necessitates a kind of minimalism, I think. So yes, but I do think that my generation also has a rap for being like, you know, we have like the sad beige mom thing, right? Where everything in the house has to be beige and like very sterile. And I understand the criticisms of that too. So I think that's one of the reasons why latch-hook might be kind of coming around again, is I think it is, you know, again, it's very textured, it's very colorful, and I think people they like that, they want that. You know, it's not sterile, it feels warm. And now we're gonna start on this other part here, where this is the rest of the kitty cat. So the kitty cat is very cold right now, and he needs to be filled in, so we're gonna fill him in. So anyway, I think that's one of the reasons that it's become more popular. You can see here, by the way, with this purple, this kind of purple one right here is like a little bit burst. It's kind of burst open like that, and so it's very frayed looking. That can happen when you pull them through, especially if they get caught on anything. So I would just say, when that happens, you can, in the moment, untie and then tie a new one on, and it's just that simple. You can just go in also if you need to use the tip of the hook here to kind of use that to take out the knot. That makes it so easy, but most of the time I can do it with my little fingers. I have really small hands, so you know, it's a curse and a gift. Oops. Okay, so I'm gonna start in on this part because this kitty must be very cold. He needs more fur. Okay, so again, just folding and like that. Pop and pull, just like that. Nice and simple. So, I actually have a stray cat situation going on right now, where the neighborhood stray cat has taken a liking to my house. I may have encouraged that by putting out food. But he's so cute, and we've been calling him Galaxy because he looks like he has a galaxy of stars on his back. So it's very cute. Very, very So we get excited every day looking for Galaxy the cat. And my current cat, Etienne, I don't think he thinks a lot about Galaxy, or I should say, he thinks a lot about Galaxy. I don't know if he thinks a lot of Galaxy. I think there's a little jealousy there. Maybe a little bit of jealousy just because, we get excited when we see Galaxy. And Etienne's like, what? I'm right here. Why do you need that guy? And he's right. He's right. Etienne is such a special cat. And he gets plenty of love, though. He gets lots and lots and lots of love and attention, I promise. But he deserves it, so. Okay. Oops. See? I suddenly don't know what I'm doing. So. Okay, so it goes through and pull like that. I always end up, getting attached to, outdoor cats in my area, and the animal shelter here does a great job of helping to manage the population of feral cats by, they'll do like a neuter or spay and release kind of program to help control the pet population. And like Bob Barker wanted us to, so they'll catch the ferals and spay and neuter and then release them again, because they can't possibly find homes for all of them. But it's their way of trying to manage it a little bit. And I used to I lived in I was renting a different house while my house was being built, and in the same area, and we made friends with a cat there named, we called him Jude the cat. And we would sing a little song for him, like, hey Jude, come get some food. It was a whole thing. So we would feed Jude, and one time I was walking and this guy came up to me and asked if I had seen a cat fitting the description of Jude, and and so I told him, well, like, yeah, but what, why? And he told me that they were from the shelter and someone had made a call about this cat, so they were gonna find him and neuter him. And of course, it's always hard to, I don't know. I think it's really important, but I also think it's hard to consent to someone else's neutering, especially when he wasn't even really my cat. So, but I asked, if I help you find him, will you, do a full veterinary check on him and give him any vaccines he needs and stuff? And they were like, yeah, definitely, that's the plan already. And I was like, okay, well, I don't think you're gonna be able to catch him, because he's a very smart, clever cat. He had been feral, I think, all of his life. You could tell he just had really good instincts. But I told him, around 5 o'clock at night, I usually call for him. He usually will come. And so they were like, great, we're gonna set a trap. Can you put food in the trap for him? And at this point, again, I felt really bad, like I was deceiving my friend. And I told him, I don't think he's gonna go in a trap. I just don't think it's gonna happen. But I guess I'll do this thing you ask of me. So that night, I was surprised the trap went off. And I went to look, and there was definitely something in the trap. But it wasn't Jude. It was a skunk. And I think skunks are so cute. I actually knew of this skunk. I would see him out on my walks a lot. He was really cute. But man, I don't want to be the person that has a skunk mad at them, you know? I don't like confrontation in general, but so I like texted the people from the shelter. They sent over a veritable SWAT team of people to get that skunk out of that trap. And when I say trap, it was a carrier. It was like a cat carrier. It wasn't like any kind of trap that would hurt them or anything like that. It was just like a carrier with some kind of like automatic shutting mechanism. So, but yeah, man, they sent over people, and they had like walkies, and they were like, okay, and they had like a whole operation planned out, and a big like tarp to like prevent them from getting sprayed and stuff. It was total madness. I don't think anybody got sprayed in the end. I was watching from inside, but they never tried to catch Jude again. Yeah, so to this day, I kind of like to think that Jude and the skunk were in it together. Jude was like, hey, I'll tell you, or you can get some food if you don't mind, a short incarceration. So. But Galaxy, the stray I've been feeding and watching lately, is he's like a very calm, sweet kitty cat, and I'll just like put out like a box with a towel for him, and he'll just chill in it. He's very relaxed. So he's super cute. Okay, so you can see, this can go very quickly if you want it to. There are times when I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna like go to town, get this done really fast, and you can do a lot, but I think you can go slow and just kind of enjoy it. It's so simple. Pull like that. And like I said, it's so forgiving. Oops. It's so forgiving. There's a lot of crafts where, like, if you screw up, I've done things sometimes in embroidery, for example, where I mess up, and then you have to really it's just a big ordeal to undo it. So I especially feel that way with like working with paints and things, but that's because I'm not particularly talented at that kind of thing. I think, if you're a great artist, you can, you could fix it and salvage it, make it work, but if you like to be able to, undo mistakes easily and relatively painlessly, you might try latch hooking, because it's super nice for that reason. So that said, I think that there's probably, just like anything, there's different levels of it. There are some latch-hook projects I've seen that have an amazing, extraordinary amount of variance in light and color shading, and I sometimes find that even more impressive when something is done with veritable pixelation or pointillism as latch-hook is. So you're kind of just filling in like pixel by pixel. And so when you see these very, very elaborate projects, it's it's so impressive. So I think there's a lot of also, I think, technique in the not just in the blending and selection of colors, but also even just in how people trim them. Some people can make them so uniform and really, really beautiful and polished. So let's just pull through, but it's it's also so beginner friendly. My friend's daughter was watching me do it, and she said, oh, it actually looks like it's gonna be really hard, but it's not that difficult. And she was totally right. It's exactly right. Just whoosh, right on through like that. And another. I apologize for kind of the light reflection. Oopsie. I apologize for the light reflection on my paintings. I have been trying to sort of make a more permanent place for filming, so that it's easier than having to kind of set things up and put them down. And I really just want like a nice like single place to film, and I thought it would be nice to be able to have some pictures and things like that I can like change out, but these ones are really reflective, or the glass is really reflective, obviously, so gotta kind of work on the angles of it all, but the plan is to kind of change out the vibe depending, especially for role plays and things like that. I try to make the set simple but as matched to the theme as I can, and yeah, so. And I think that's another kind of cool thing about latch-hook is if you are somebody who might like to make something for someone, but maybe don't feel like you know how to do anything super complicated, or don't have the time to learn something really advanced, this is a great easy thing to learn, so that you can make a handmade gift, which to me is always the best kind. I love them. So it's really simple to pick up. Also, it's not too hard for most kids. I would say, I don't know, most kids maybe around 10, 11, 12, 13 could easily do it. I think it can be sometimes a matter of focus and is it exciting enough, but there's plenty of kids who, like me, have been like 90 years old since they've been 10, so it's very, if you have a child who's a little bit calmer, likes to take time with things, this can be a lovely introduction to making things that doesn't require anything particularly, dangerous, or messy. I still, as much as I like to allow kids to have really, I think having the opportunity to make a mess is so important. And honestly, at any age, at any age. When is the last time you just let yourself make a total mess? You know? You should liberate yourself. Go just like kick something over. I don't just dump Legos everywhere. Feels really good. But anyway, but sometimes, you know, especially let's say you're going to someone else's house or you're on the road or traveling, it's nice to have projects that just don't require a lot of stuff for one, you know, but that really, really, really don't make a mess. You know, the worst that happens here is like sometimes I've had actually various kids pull the yarns out of the little packets because, you know, it's kind of exciting. I actually love the way they feel in the packets. They're like almost like a kabuki brush. They just feel like the kind of the bristles on a kabuki brush, but it's like kabuki. But I've noticed that it seems like kids want to, you know, pull them all out, and that's understandable too. It's understandable too. I still just want a kabuki. Also, just want to say kabuki. But yeah, even if like somebody just pulls the whole thing out, all you have are some fibers, some yarns lying around. It's not like it's a big deal. Unless you have a cat like I do, who's like, oh, a snack. I'm gonna eat those right up, but it's a different story. Anyway, so yeah, it's a craft that isn't messy, not dangerous. I also really like felting, like needle felting. Sorry, some of these are just a little fluffy. They need to be tamed a little. And you can either, if they get snagged or frayed, you can either pull them out and redo them, or you can use like just a tiny bit of like a glue or adhesive to roll them with your fingers. Just kind of roll them together and they'll stick together a little more, but I like to just replace them if I can. I don't really like to add anything. But anyway, about safety, I like to needle felt. You make little characters out of wool, and I think it's fun. I just a little while ago finished making Astro from Astro's Playroom for my son. So yeah, I like to needle felt little creatures and characters and things like that. And my son is very interested in it, and I will sometimes give him like a toothpick so that he can kind of lay knead at the felt with the toothpick. But giving needles to kids, I'm gonna go out on a limb and just say that's a no-no in my book. just a no-no. Then there's, you know, giving them needles for embroidery or anything like that, or, you know, soldering irons, whatever it may be. It's probably better, you know, to find something that's maybe a little safer, especially when they're young. So, you know, latch-hook, no band saws required, which is great. No orbital sanders. So yeah, it's safe, it's pretty mess free. It also doesn't require a lot of expensive equipment or anything like that to start up. Obviously, a rug hook is, I don't know, you can probably get one for a couple bucks. They're not expensive. And one thing I like, because I'll be honest, to me sometimes like I do enjoy like, ooh, could I get a really fancy rug hook? Is there a top of the line rug hook that's gonna, really bring my latch hook to the next level? And I like that, to be honest, like a really inexpensive little latch hook tool like this is really all you need. There's not like a lot of need to upgrade and keep up with anything that way, so it saves me from myself. I also like that I'm sure that you could use a wide variety of materials, so quality material wise is probably a factor, but the whole idea is that it was an economical craft to begin with, and largely has stayed that way. So I think that can be great too. Just pull on through like that. For me, I think the next thing I would like to do is kind of make some of my own designs for latch hook. Maybe some of the like creatures or characters that I might like. I think it could be fun to just fully create my own instead of using anyone else's patterns. So I think that could be really cool to try. Like I said, I'm gonna start trying to make these tote bags, or like there's tote bags like shopping bags, but these are more like a purse. I thought they would be kind of fun, so I'm gonna see how that goes, and maybe I'll work on like designing some fun things that way. I don't know. We'll see. But it would also just be fun to, put my own characters into things. You can see, speaking of characters behind me, and again, I'm so sorry about the reflection. I will work on it. I thought I had it kind of fixed with the angle, but like with me, moving around, you can see it. So, let's see. But you can see back there right now, I have pictures from characters from Expedition 33 and Clear Obscure Expedition 33. So there's Smale and Lune back there. And I thought these prints were so pretty. They were given to me as a present, so I wanted to show them off. But we'll see. I'll figure it all out. In time. And I think that's another nice thing about crafting. It makes you slow down. You have to do things just piece by piece. And it's one thing to say that, but to feel it is really, really good in a world where we're sort of trained to expect instant or near instant gratification. So it's good for me anyway. I don't want to project I guess, onto all of you, but it helps me ground. It helps me stay present and slow. I went to a cabin last month, and it was so wonderful to just, have permission not to really do anything productive. It was great. Really, really nice. Just spend time with family and read. I'm reading such a wonderful book. Honestly, one of the most profoundly beautiful and challenging, interesting books I've read in a really long time. Not challenging on an intellectual level, challenging on a moral, almost even just sort of like a historical level, the way we view the world and the way we view our own history. And anyway, it won the Pulitzer a few years back. It's called The Known World. I highly, highly recommend it. It's strange. There are times when, this is gonna sound so wrong, there's times when I read it and it's comforting because it's told in a way that has such respect for the humanity of all its characters that you feel like you know them and understand them in a way that is so surprising and really lovely. It's just remarkably human, and at the same time, some really truly profoundly upsetting things are happening. And but it was it's incredibly powerful, and so being able to read it in a place where I could really really pay quiet attention to it was wonderful. I haven't quite finished it yet. Do you ever try to savor books or anything really, games, shows, moments? I find sometimes if there's a book that I just really appreciate, I don't wanna go through it quickly. I really make myself slow down for it. So I haven't quite finished it yet. But it's so good. Again, it's not a feel good book in a way. But there's something about a writer who has the power to give you perspective in a way that's real and sensitive to so many viewpoints, especially viewpoints that are so diametrically opposed to one another. It's a once in a generation talent, I swear. It's just not something you see very often. Tolstoy, for me, did this very, very, very well. It's the reason I like Tolstoy so much. So I do think Tolstoy can be, again, there can be some really upsetting things happening in the books, but then there's times when it's just like a family spending time together, and you really get wrapped up in what that feels like. So I think people in general tend to maybe read a little bit more during the winter, during the cold months. I mean, you hear about people doing beach reads and stuff like that. I know the beach read is a phenomenon that still occurs and is still really important in the world of publishing, but this time of year is nice to just really snuggle up with a book. I'm honestly not getting very many snags here. Like I said, sometimes when you pull it back through, you'll get a little bit of a snag that can kind of fray the material. Like on this, there's like a white one here that's like very fluffed up. I'll probably replace that one. I'm gonna go through and do one last pass. So I'm gonna take all of the different colors of yarn that I have left, and I'm gonna go through and untie and pull out anything that needs to be pulled out and replaced, so that it's as neat as possible. But part of the reason for using these pieces of yarn in shag is because they do sort of open up a little bit over time and become softer, and so that is like flowers, right? You send them a little tighter than you want them, and then they bloom and they open up a little, so it's very nice. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but so I'll do that in terms of finishing the project, and then after I go through and replace the sort of less than ideal pieces, the ones that are sort of shagged out, I will go through and use scissors. I use a really light hand with this. Some people who are probably have steadier hands than I do a much more aggressive trim. They go and they're trimming all of the pieces so that they get very, very uniform in length, and that can look so nice. But alas, my hands aren't as steady, and I just don't trust myself enough. If I do that, I end up seeing spots that I convince myself aren't completely even, and so then I want to go trim those, and then I want to trim more, and this is why I don't trim my own bangs ever, because I end up doing it too much, cutting too much all around. I'm not good at saying, oh yeah, that's just right, that's just how I want it. Oops. So, but you can go to town with trimming. Then after that, you can brush it out if you want to. I just kind of brush it with my fingers, just to kind of smooth it. You want to smooth, and yeah, you can give it a little bit of a brush with your fingers. You could use like a boar bristle brush if you wanted to, and get off any excess. I definitely have, little, I don't know if you can see, there's like little bits of excess hair, and oops, there it goes, like that. You can get off the excess, and you can also go over it with a lint roller, which I would recommend. Nothing too sticky, because that can coat the pieces a little bit, but yeah, you can go over it with a lint roller and just get some of that excess, some of the little fuzz bits off of it, to make it nice. Also, because I do have a cat, I want to make sure that I try to get any potential cat fur or anything off of it. I don't think there's a lot, although you will have seen earlier that Etienne does like to he does like to be on my lap a lot while I work on it, so I am aware that, you know, cat fur can just cling to whatever. Of course, you know, in this case, these are kitty cats, right? It's cats already, so probably wouldn't hurt to have some real cat fur on it. No, it would. It wouldn't be good. That sounds gross. No offense to cat fur. Just, you know how it is when it gets everywhere. It's not the best. Pull that. I'm gonna just do a few more here. So again, just to remind you, fold into a loop. Tug. Dip under the mesh. You hear that little pop. Little pop. When it goes under, that's the pressure of the arm on the arm. So that little, and then pull like that. And I have found there's also kind of a good pace. You want to neither go too fast or too slowly when you pull. If you go too quickly, you'll get a snag. And if you go too slowly, you can also get a snag, I've noticed. And so I find that you want to just, when you pull, just try to pull in one motion, just one, you know, straight fluid motion, and then you don't want to just yank it. But also I found when I was first learning that, you know, if I did it too aggressively, you know, it could get caught and kind of yank it, you know, and snag it. But if I did it too slow, like really slow, I ended up the hesitation, I think, creates a couple points where it's actually getting tugged a little bit more as it goes under, and both of those resulted at different times in little snags and things like that. So again, just, you know, like anything, go into it with a cool confidence. You want to be confident but not hasty, and it should come out fine. So I think that for today I will probably leave it there, but you can kind of see, oh, you know what, there's one more loose. Let's do the last loose one. Oh yeah, like this. You hear that pop, that pop, and then pull, right, pull, like that, like that. And we'll just do a couple more, then probably put it away for the night. But we'll do just a couple more. That pop, pull. Okay. And right in there. So just dip under and pop, pull, I really want to finish the row out, so I'll do a few more. And just pulling through like that. Tip under the mesh, pop, pull, two, and then of course tightening, tugging at it a little. And you want to make sure when you go to tighten it, you are evening it out too, because sometimes when it will go through, it might get tied on sort of like this. You can see, and so you want to, when you tighten, you can kind of pull to even them out a little bit too, and that's important. So saves you from having to do much trimming later on as well. It's kind of nice. Prevention before cure, right? So, okay, let's do the last one in this row. Like that. Okay, so I'm going to set that there. I'm going to put so you can see we've actually gone through a lot. You can see how big it was. There's now all that space, so that's really great. And then, let's see, this one is left, and I think that's about right. I think that this is probably the amount that I'm gonna need to finish off the project. So yeah, I think that's really close to what I'm gonna need. It's pretty nice. Also, thank you for indulging my kitty cat shirt. Like the right choice. That's so nice. I honestly do this. I like sit around with these little packets, and I love the little sounds they make. Certainly you can find ones, I think, that come in bigger packets, or you could get your own, and I want to start doing that eventually, because I think it's, requires less packaging. I don't really need plastic. Oops, sorry about that. But okay, so you can see, just take one more look at the progress with the actual piece. And so you can see it's starting to look like love. It's starting to look like two happy kitties who have had their raw salmon. This one all complete, and then you can see what I have left to do. So not a ton. Probably finish him tomorrow, then get it ready to go. Hopefully my mom will like it. She deserves the world, and this is very silly, but still I hope she'll like it. So thank you as ever for being here. You guys rock my socks, and I hope if I don't see you before then that you will have the most excellent holiday. If you have a holiday you celebrate coming up, and even if you don't, I hope that you have a magical midwinter. It's such a beautiful time. I love this time of year. So and I love you guys for chilling with me. Hanging out together like this is really special, and it means a lot to me that you just spend these quiet moments here. So I hope you learned a little bit about latch hooking today, or if you already know a lot about latch hooking, I would love it if you want to give me any tips, hints, insights, because I would like to learn how to do more and how to do better. So feel free to share those, and otherwise take really good care of your hearts, and I will see you really soon. Okay, bye.